Yo, I just wanted to make a video. I don't plan on putting this up on YouTube immediately, at least. But I do want to have that I've said this because, if I have thoughts of something and then something comes out and it's like, well, yeah, I was thinking that. But in any instance, so like last night, like I brought this up plenty. I mean, I very clearly think there's something going on where people are trying to use like fake identities or like have kids in secret and then like where it's like there's connections between people that are not easily noticeable, like you'd have to perceive them, and like most people aren't looking for them, you know what I mean, like these connections that I'm talking about where I think people are having kids and then it's like there's almost a veil that can be put over. It's like, do you, for me, like my thing is when I was younger I would always go like to my mom and dad, I'd go, I know, and then my parent, like I'd say, I know, and my parents would mock that and go, I know, oh, I know, so and like I guess try to prove that maybe I don't know, and I think people who aren't my parents are trying to do that. It feels like to me, and it's like, do you know, Matt? Do you know? And Yoda, do you know? And it's like some of this seems to be like, I think you're gonna taunt so much that I'm gonna know regardless. But uh, do I know? I mean, maybe. Hold on, I see something on my see a little spot on my screen that I want to wipe off. But no, it's not going away. Oh, okay. Well, I'll work on that later. It's like on the monitor. But okay. So, and where I've brought up where like are Alessandra Ambrosio's kids mine and her sister's kids and Fernanda Mota's daughter, and like probably more if that's the case, but maybe not. I don't. Still trying to figure out. It's really hard to perceive much when like it, being perceptive. It's like, well, I can perceive the pain that is in my right side of my body, and it hurts a lot. And so if I cut perception away, I don't have to experience that pain actually. So I do think that's part of this. It's like, and I'm. It might even be part of what is affecting my right side and hurting it. I mean, I do think it has some element of the thing that I've talked about from Genesis 32 and from Proverbs 12:4, and ultimately culminates, I think, in I'm the person from Revelation 19:15 or 16, whatever. It's like the thing written on the thigh, and it's on the thigh because some kind of strike that has crippled me since at least since I was a kid, slightly younger than a teenager, at least. So, okay, I just wanted to look at this. I feel like I was watching the Texans game. So these aren't every example of this. These are just some thoughts that I had, and then I saw this video on. Actually, I can just pull it up. What am I doing? So give me a second to pull this up. See, so like I have. Oh, hold on. Why don't we do this? Add this one in here. Okay, so and I was watching the Texans, or actually, okay. So before I get into that, because this is a thought that I had this, like earlier this morning, but I saw this video right here, this dude's video, Charles Perallo, and then I saw like so I saw this, and like sometimes I click the shorts that are like that it recommends on my thing just because it's like, all right, well that's interesting. So like this, but I clicked this one and I just want to listen to this real fast.
Now she's rejecting being.
This is less about her Paris Hilton, I mean Paris Jackson doing anything, and more about just this thing that I'm talking about where Like it seems like a game, and this might have even been one of the major things earlier on where people were trying to do this, and then they went from being less like they went. This was a little more obvious, and then they became less obvious about it because they're trying to see like, well, will people perceive this like hoodwink or whatever? Anyway, it's just why. Maybe even less will people perceive it, and more it's like, will Matt perceive this?
Paris Jackson has beat a lot of issues in her personal life.
Does he know?
But she still says some crazy things, and now she's rejecting being white.
All right, let's watch the whole thing. I also think this is relatively applicable to me because I'm mixed and like, you know, I don't reject being white and I don't reject being black. So
Paris Jackson has beat a lot of issues in her personal life, but she still says some crazy things, and now she's rejecting being white. Paris Jackson is the daughter of Michael Jackson and Debbie Rowe, and she wasn't conceived through sex, but instead through artificial insemination. Many people have questioned if she was Michael Jackson's actual daughter because Michael Jackson is black and she's completely white. There are some signs that her and her brothers are Michael Jackson's biological kids.
So since I've been on this subject of like what's going on where people, it seems like there's some weird game going on with like breeding not just me but other people to like, I don't know, use the kids as some kind of something, whatever.
With one big example being vitiligo, which Prince Jackson has, which only affects 0.5% of people, and Michael Jackson had. That just might be a coincidence because Prince Jackson looks nothing like his father, but looks very similar to Dr. Arnold Klein, who was the one who performed the insemination, many people believe is the biological father.
And so this is what I'm talking about, where you have this like famous person or whatever, but in the background, like behind the scenes, it's like, the actual father of the kids is Dr. Arnold Klein or something like that. In this kind of weird instance, I mean, is that the case? I don't know. Like this was just something I watched this morning that's kind of like expressing this point of like, well, very clearly, like there's other situations besides the ones that I'm thinking of, like the situation with Michael Jackson and his kids, where it's like up in the air. There's questions about it.
Father to Paris and Prince Jackson. And the biggest piece of proof that he's not the dad is Debbie Rowe in 2004 said he wasn't the biological father, but later retracted that. The only one who looks like Michael Jackson is Blanket Jackson, an anonymous surrogate mother, and Debbie Rowe did say that was his actual sperm. Despite all this, Paris Jackson, despite having did say.
Is that the case? I mean, he looks similar, but like I don't know. At every point, I'm like, is that my kid? These days, after whatever I've gone through, but whatever. I'm just trying to make a point here.
That was his actual sperm.
This would be 2002, though it does seem like stuff was going on in 2000. Weird stuff was going on around me in 2002, so I don't know.
Despite all this, Paris Jackson, despite his actual sperm. Despite all this, Paris Jackson,
he looks like Michael Jackson, though, like mixed with somebody, but it's hard to tell when you don't. When it could be anybody, right? You know what I mean? Like whatever features, you'd have to see the mom or the purported mom or whatever,
sperm. Despite all this, Paris Jackson, despite having blonde hair, blue eyes, and white skin, is saying she recognizes as black and rejects being white. Many have called her out on saying she's rejecting being white just to be rebellious and calling out white culture. Seriously, she's literally whiter than I am, and with that, I'm Charles Pearl. Please subscribe for Learn Something. Paris.
It's like, just FYI, I don't reject being white or black. It's like culturally, I feel mixed, but I identify like on my dad's side because he's the male that raised me, so I identify a lot with my dad, and he's black. He's just very, very, very light skinned, but genetically, he's like when you pull our genetics up, I'm a quarter genetically, and he's half. But both his parents are black. They're just light skinned. People mixed here in the southern United States between Louisiana and Texas. People were mixing a lot, so. Whether it could there could be whatever in the past as far as like how that happened, but so but I don't reject being white or black. Like I don't reject either of it. It's just I'm mixed, so I get that. And like clearly I look very white, right? But I also have some features that are more black, and then like definitely just in reality, like you look at my genetics, there's a quarter of my genetics is African countries on Ancestry.com. So, and half on my dad's. But okay, on Rayfield Wilkins. Now, I earlier this morning I had this thought, like I was thinking about the Texans game from last night, like when I woke up and I was taking a shower and kind of starting my day, and I just think of random things, and or maybe the previous day, and I was thinking of the Texans game, and this was something that I had seen last night. Whereas like when I was watching the game, I saw D'Amico Ryan's, and then all of a sudden a picture of, and so he's the Texans head coach, and he used to play for the Texans, and then all of a sudden I saw Indrick, and I like it was more in the complexion and in the ears. But I was like, why does he look like D'Amico Ryan's? Like I was just like, because I saw his ears, and D'Amico doesn't have large ears. He has like smaller ears. Here's maybe a better picture. I don't know. I'm gonna try to find one where it's hard to tell, but when you saw the other thing, he doesn't have like huge ears. He doesn't have tiny ears. He just has. I would say he has smaller ears than bigger ears. You know, but um, and like maybe I guess I could pull it up because I think it might be blocked. The way I have it formatted might block it. So like, okay, looking at his ears, and then like I saw Indrick and I was like, oh, you know, his ear just reminded me of D'Amico Ryan. So I was like, well, like wait, you know, it's not like super common. Let me just look at him. And so I compared them side by side, and I was like, well, I don't know if they're exactly the same, but there's features enough. And I'm like, I don't, you know, whoever his mom is, like, and then I looked up on his Instagram. Let's see if we can see it, like who his dad is, and or on his Instagram. I guess his dad could, you know, this is what I'm saying. It could be me, but depending upon who his mom is. But is that, you know, I can't look at every kid and be like, is that my son? I mean, it's not impossible. Genetics is weird. But he just also kind of looks, in my opinion, a bit like D'Amico Ryan's, right? And like, so I'm looking at, and this is, I think, supposed to be his dad. And I'm like, I just get this vibe. Like, I can see it. I mean, I can, it's not there at all. You know what I mean? But like, and also Indrick has interesting hair. It's kind of like, I believe in like Australia, like Aboriginals, they're black, but they have like not black hair. You know what I mean? Like they have curly, not nappy. It's more like I don't. I look at his hair and it looks like a mixture. I mean, it reminds me of my hair actually, except a little more on the little thicker follicles maybe. But I don't know. Anyway, um, but like I don't know. I was just like comparing him to D'Amico, and I was like, well, he's a like part of the thing is for his age, he's like a like big. I mean, it seems like his legs look really. He looks like kind of thick. You know what I mean? Like his muscle and his build. That's what I'm getting at. His build looks like a bigger dude build, except he plays soccer. So you know, then it your body adjusts to like the sport that you're playing. But I just thought that was so like it was interesting, right? And it's one that I've been thinking of for a bit. Like, do they look exactly like? No, but I was just like, well, that'd be weird. You know, it's like people are doing weird shit around me when it comes to like kids and stuff. Anyway, like as far as like who's you know, I'm trying to guess who the father is. New, you know, do I have kids that I don't know about and blah blah. Okay, so another one that I thought was interesting, and this is one that I've been thinking about for a bit. Was like I saw this picture. So like Benjamin Netanyahu here, Prime Minister of Israel. I don't know. Is he secretly Polish? That's what you know. There's this picture that people post, and he's like, they're like Benjamin Milzowski or something. I don't know. I think that's his like father's name, and you know they're trying to suggest he's from Poland. You know, is that the case? You know, I don't know. People are doing weird shit behind the scenes. I keep saying that, like, uh, like trying to fucking mess with me. Like, I don't think it's just to mess with me, but I think that I'm the type of person that would call it out. So you'd have people that would try to like make it harder for me to perceive these things. Right? Does that make sense? So if there is some weird shit going on, and like these are just two examples, like both of them could be completely wrong. I mean, I'm just getting some ideas out here so that it's it's clear. Like I do think some weird shit's going on like this. So just FYI. But like Let's see. Hold on. Yeah, that's what they want to say. This is Benjamin Milikowski. You know what I mean? It's like, well, is Emily Ratajkowski? Is she actually secretly like some Polish secret agent or like some kind of Israeli spy or something? You know, could be. I don't know. People are doing weird shit. So okay, let's keep going. I could also show like, well, okay, there's other things that give me hints on stuff, but possibilities. So like one thing that I noticed, I saw this picture, you know, on Twitter of young Benjamin Netanyahu, right? And we'll pull this up in the middle so it's more just centered. And then I was like, dude, why does he look? And I was like he looks like, or more so, who looks like him? And I was like, this is the son of the current owner of the Houston Dynamo here, and I'm the team that I follow, the soccer team that I follow is the Dynamo, and they're from Houston here. We don't really have another soccer team that you get what you get, and it's like at one point I liked them in my life, then behind the scenes, their front office, I don't know, weird shit's been going on around me, and there's some weird shit going on with the Dynamo around me, and I think they've been used to do some kind of evil shit towards me that people knew about, and they allowed it, even though it was probably illegal and like libelous. But whatever. Okay. So I'm looking at it and I'm like, why is I don't think it's just because he's Jewish, that uh Gabe Siegel here looks like young Netanyahu. Like I feel like they have a very similar like facial features and jaw structure, and like I can't find the picture that uh I don't know. One of these I gotta. But my whole point here is like, is some weird shit going on here? I mean, it always comes down to Israel versus Palestine. I mean, somehow everything always, or I guess it always comes down to Israel or something. I don't know. But also the thing, the end of the Bible thing, the seven churches thing. It could be like a some kind of some group of people pretending to be Jewish is doing some weird shit around me. So, I mean, because there's literally some people pretending to be Jewish at the end of the Bible. And I would say, just for people who actually are Jewish, well, it says they're of a synagogue of Satan. And I'm not saying that every Jewish person is of a synagogue of Satan. The chosen people of Yahweh. I believe in Yahweh, and like I think Israel exists and should exist, and all this other stuff that it's like don't try to twist what I'm about and who I am, and people shouldn't just be hurt because they're Jews. That being said, it does, like, the Messiah has to have already come based on the Old Testament and stuff, and we won't get too much into that, but I definitely believe that there's a group of people pretending to be Jewish or that are claiming to be Jewish, but they aren't following Yahweh. They're following some, not like, a deity that isn't Yahweh, maybe even Satan. That's the idea of synagogue of Satan, except they're using Judaism as a shield. And they aren't Jewish, at least not in actuality, in the case that they follow Yahweh. They believe in I literally think the idea is they believe in something adversarial, and they're trying to empower that. And they're hiding in plain sight, being, pretending they're Jewish, and they're using the shield that maybe the Star of David is, that, like, the Magen David, right? That's like their shield, right? But they're not actually Jewish. That's my point. Is like, and it's disruptive for people who actually are Jewish, because what they're doing is causing problems for the people who actually are Jewish. And then when it comes down to, like, when they get caught out doing this and they're not actually Jewish, but they're claiming to be Jewish, the weight of the evil shit that they've done is going to fall on the Jewish people. So it would be reasonable, like, Jews, you should protect yourself. You shouldn't allow these people who are of a synagogue of Satan, who claim to be following Yahweh, right? They claim to be Jews, but are not. They follow a different deity. That's my point with this. And again, they could be ethnically Jewish, but they're not actually following Yahweh. They're following a different deity and then pretending that they're Jewish and using that as a shield. Okay, that's what I think it's describing. It could be something else. and it could be one at some connected to whoever the group of people is that attacked me. But okay, so and then I don't really know what this dude's Gabriel Siegel's mom looks like, but when I look at his dad, I'm like, oh, like I can kind of see it a bit, maybe in the eyebrows more especially, but I can also kind of see like Netanyahu there. Like I'm just like, what? You know what I mean? Like I can see that. I can see similarities, right? Am I correct? Like head shape structure, maybe a bit in the hair, uh, a bit in the nose, even maybe. I mean, like I don't know. He does have smaller ears, so I don't exactly but it doesn't look that they don't look that different, and I don't think it's just because they're Jewish. You know what I mean? Like I don't think every Jew looks alike for sure. So that's why I'm like they look pretty damn similar to me, right? This is maybe even a better uh example. You got pretty similar ears there. But again, they're Jewish, so I mean there's a genetic thing. But yeah. So I mean is something going on? I don't know. I'm just pointing out these things. BB88. Okay, so yeah. I mean he's got some similar features there. That's what I'm saying. I'm whatever. But I wanted to make this so that just in case it does come out that yes, in fact, some weird game has been going on, and it's like it could be the hilarious thing to me is the way this works in my reality. I could be pointing this out and just be so off, yet it's still happening, just not with the people that I've just pointed out or that I've been talking about or been pointing out before. So, which probably does put the pressure on the people who are trying to do this because I'm clearly aware, and I feel like to me, Yahweh is the thing that is like, okay, we're gonna slow down on your perception of this because when you do perceive it, calamity, destruction, catastrophe. You know what I mean? If you look at the weather stuff, when things tend to shock me and like or try to and it like affects me, there tends to be some calamity or catastrophe or whatever around that because Yahweh tells people, I think, to like back the fuck off. Like you shouldn't be making this place stressful and hard to live in. It's supposed to be the idea we should be headed to a kingdom of heaven where people don't die anymore and everything's taken care of. But we ain't there yet for damn sure. So, I want to get there. That's the difference between me and other people. I want to get there and actively want to get there. Whereas, like, other people don't seem to want to as much, or they pretend they want to. There's a bunch of Christians that I don't actually think are following with the book the way it says. Else, they're not, it's the thing that I just said about people pretending to be Jewish, except with Judaism, it's like a ethno-religious group, whereas with Christians, it's a belief system, right? So that's why the Judaism would be a more effective shield in the way that I'm trying to describe, is because like it's like built into your ethnicity these days, or I mean, I guess it's built into your ethnicity. And and the same thing, like, dude, I remember even on the YoTV days, I mean, it might even be there. Benjamin Netanyahu said, "Oh, we Jews are named after Judah, like Judah and Samaria. That's where we're named after." And I'm just like looking at him like, no, that's not true. I have a Bible. I think a lot of people have Bibles, and they can read in the Bible. And if you understand what the Bible's talking about, oh, I guess I would say this: Judah is named after Yahweh, right? The difference is like two letters, right? Yod Hey Wow Delet Hey. I mean, it might even be one letter. Is that what it is? I think that's Judah, right? Whereas Yahweh is Yod Hey Wow No Delet Hey. So it's like one letter off, right? But my point with that is like, um, it should be obvious to someone who's a Hebrew speaking Jew who actually follows Yahweh, right? Who follows Hashem, you would know that Hashem, the name, is who you're named after. It even said when Yahweh's like, all those who are named after my name. Do you think that means there's a bunch of people named Yahweh, or do you think that is talking about the Jews? Because they literally the word Jew I might as well be saying Jah. like the God, the name of God of the Bible, Jah, like hallelujah, hallelujah. Okay, that part is Jew. It's just the way that pronunciation. It's the same letters in Hebrew. It's just the way the pronunciation has evolved in English. So, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it does seem like maybe they're pretending. Like, is he pretending to be Jewish? There's no way if you're Jewish that you don't realize that you're named after the God Yahweh. So, so that that is one sign. Like, well, maybe these people aren't. I don't know. I do think Israel should exist. Absolutely. There's no, like just looking at the way it in reality now, the people who are Jews in Israel, like in that region, created a state in 1948, while the people who are Arabs that are claiming to be Palestinians or Philistines, they didn't. They started a war and lost it, and then never take the peace process seriously, never come in good faith to to it, because I think that it's like a long term game of, can we discredit Israel despite the fact that in reality they're the ones that started a state in like the way that you should, you know what I mean? Like they followed the procedures to the letter of the law, and then created their own state and were like recognized as such. Palestinians didn't do that, or the Arabs didn't do that, who want to make Palestine, or who wanted to, because that's not their main goal. Their main goal is the destruction of Israel because of their religious bend, because of what it says in the Quran and in the Hadith. That's just the reality of it. That's why it still goes on like this today. They don't want a state. They want Israel to not have a state. They don't want the Jews to have a state. And some of it just comes down to it. It is a slap in the face of the fake deity called Allah. If the temple, the third temple, gets rebuilt and kind of shows how fake and just a knockoff that Allah is, right? So, anyway, I mean, there's all sorts of weird shit that's going on. I'm just trying to make the point that weird shit's going on, and like, clearly I can see something's going on. Do I know exactly what it is? I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out with my own situation, and like maybe I will put this up on. Ignore the fact that I'm washing my sheets right now, but maybe you know what I mean. Like, anyway, I'm just still trying to figure out the thing with Alessandro Ambrosio, and like, are those my kids? It seems like it. What are you guys doing? This seems really evil. Seems like some people have done something, and like maybe people that, I mean, have I been signaled that like people that I went to middle school with and like high school, like there's like kids in secret that people are having to see if I can perceive these things, and like if I can, it implodes the city. Like there's like multiple timelines. Like this is what the multiverse thing has been about. There's an actual reality where it's based on, hey, I exist, and all the normal things, and then there's a reality where it's like a bunch of things adversarial, so satanic, want to take the timeline or whatever in a different direction, and one of they're using these shock methods, and the idea of the Nicolaitans. I think that's the group of people, and they're a group of people called the destruction of the people, or victory over the people, and it's like elites or something, like people with a lot of money and wealth and resources that are trying to steal away reality from anybody who would want a better reality than that, but I'm going to suggest from Yahweh, and that's Yahweh seemingly being connected to my situation, and like it seems like I'm going to be on the throne, matching the seven churches of Asia. Like I'm the guy that's conquered at the seven churches of Asia, so I have the throne, and they kind of proved it out with whoever's Jezebel, and like yeah. So I mean, I'm still trying to figure this out, but some weird shit's going on. I'm just like, yeah, I just wanted to get this out. So maybe I will put this up on YouTube. I don't know. This is more where it's like I'm just going over ideas. I don't hold all of the things that I just said as like set in stone. I'm just like, some weird stuff's going on. I'm trying to point out like, hey, these are my thought processes, some weird thoughts that I have. So that's it. Anyway, all right. Have a blessed one. I'm gonna get back to my day. So anything else? Not really. Okay. Yeah. Have a blessed one. I'll catch you next time. Later. Yeah.